Welcome to Worse Than You, a podcast with Mo Frypasek, me, where we have been interviewing fringe headliners all summer long about their art, their process, the work that means the most to them. Maybe not the most successful or famous, but how they come to be on a stage, how they come to be on the screen, how they make their work. And I gotta be so honest, I'm really embodying the fringe energy right now and not even knowing my own intro off book. And I am here with two of the most wonderful people I know, McCafferty and Demi Adejuyigbe, and we are here a little bit to dish more loosey-goosey, more we've lost all our energy.
Yeah.
We've been performing for 23 shows straight.
Our voices are gone.
I just did my makeup and without a mirror. You know
look
what
great,
I mean?
sis.
That's incredible.
And thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, so we are recording a final recorded episode on the ground, if you will.
Yeah, the next one's gonna be in the air.
Yes, exactly. Oh my God.
From heaven.
Oh, no.
No, is that not where? Okay.
Okay.
Not where we're going.
What would be God's podcast? God's podcast would be like,
Welcome to the Sky Zone.
Oh, no. God's a bro.
Yeah.
Well, we knew that.
We knew it.
Yeah. Look at the world.
God was in a fraternity, and he had to rush.
And he had his butt little paddled by that shit.
He sure did.
So actually, I feel bad for him, and we should.
He's like, why did I create this?
Why did I create toxic masculinity?
Yeah. On the second day.
So fucking stupid. Ready, set, show.
Bored with your boring cardio? Stop pedaling that snooze cycle to Nowheresville and try some cardio that's actually fun. Supernatural Fitness, available on MetaQuest. Isn't that right, Jane Fonda?
Cardio will never be boring again.
Sweat to the beat of thousands of chart-topping songs inside stunning virtual landscapes.
Bet your stationary bike can't do that.
Visit GetSupernatural.com and join the next fitness revolution. Supernatural VR Fitness, only on MetaQuest. Rated Teen for Teen.
Well, you know Demi from one of our earlier apps, but Catherine, I would love, could you give our readers or viewers, or my brain is gone.
Yeah.
Could you give them a too long didn't read about your show?
Okay, too long dinner read. Is that what you said?
That was I immediately understood what you meant, but I was like, whoa, what a phrase.
Yeah, same.
Yeah.
And what a phrase. Is that a phrase?
Too long, didn't read.
See, in my no, in my brain it was like a 2 minute long dinner read.
Like at the dinner table.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh,
We both
You
heard
both
the same
collectively
thing and
grabbed
like,
that.
what the fuck?
Yeah,
That's
but
genius.
knew what was
No,
happening.
that's
Yeah.
what I said on purpose, and I'm taking it.
I was like,
now.
damn, the Midwestern brain is powerful. in
Right,
ways I
yeah.
can't
Because
comprehend.
I'm like,
You know, at
okay,
the
we're
supper
all around
club.
the dinner table.
Yeah,
We're
yeah,
sort of
yeah.
talking about our days. Okay, great.
Too
So
long dinner read.
too long
Too
dinner
long dinner
read.
Yeah.
And that is what I'll be doing. So my show is sort of laughing at the randomness of tragedy. And I would say it takes you through the events of my life. We start off lighter and then we devolve into like, oh no. That's how I describe it to people. I go, it's sort of like ha ha, and then it's like, oh no, and then it's like funny again.
I adore that.
Yeah. And I've added in a line that says at the beginning that sometimes it's ha-ha funny, and then sometimes it's like getting hit by a bus on your birthday funny, which is not a common phrase. I actually did not know that until I started doing the
What do
show.
you mean you didn't know that?
I thought that it was a common phrase, but it turns out it's just something that
Like
my
up
mom
shit creek without a
said.
paddle. Like
Sure.
she thought it was that.
Yeah.
Nobody's heard that.
No, but it's just, people know what it means
Yeah.
because they're like, oh, sort of like the irony of tragedy
Sure.
on a day that's
It's
You know
supposed to
what?
be joyful.
Dang.
Similar
Yeah.
to dinner read, I don't know if people know what it means. I think everyone would then take context and make their own meaning of it.
And that's part of it. I'm fine with that. But now I do explain later in the show where I say, and I didn't know that wasn't a common phrase. It's just something my mom said, which is a great reflection on how I grew up.
Yeah.
Sort of
Yeah.
like, we're all going to need a lot of humor to get through getting hit by a bus on our birthday.
Oh, aren't we?
But in that vein, I talk about my queerness, coming out of the closet, not really being interested in dating men, and then some sexual violence stuff. And I have been getting DMs afterwards from straight men asking me on dates, which is so crazy. And one of them said, "Hey, I don't know if this is what I was supposed to take, but that show was so hot."
Are you shitting me?
What?
Are you actually shitting me?
What do you mean you don't know if that was what you were supposed to take?
Yeah,
definitely not.
Definitely not. It definitely was not what you were supposed to take
He's
from
just
that,
sitting
sir.
in the audience listening to you talk about your dad's death and going, okay, she's flirting.
This is
with
hot
me.
as
Yeah,
shit.
exactly.
Yeah.
Sort of coming on to me and only me in
What
this audience.
the hell?
And that's sort of a pattern I have had that happen before, where somebody came up to me after, and not to get too graphic, after a set right after my father had passed, and I did talk about that, and he was like, I don't know if this is weird, but I do have a semi right now, and I was like,
Which is
What do you mean I don't know if it's weird?
yeah.
But I will say that
It's
is violent.
sort of
That is
classically
violent.
weird. Yeah, well, yeah, in public, like very close to me. It was at the time not great. And then I would say,
I'm like, what do you mean at the time? It's awful now.
well, like it was also like it was one of those things where I was surrounded by like male comedians where I was like looking for help.
Yes.
And I told somebody about what happened, and his response was like, he was sort of like, oh, why didn't you point him out to me sooner? And I was like, well, I'm doing it right now. They just got mad at me for not being loud about my reaction. And I was like, well, my reaction is this right now, coming up to you so that you can go say something like, please leave.
It's like, why didn't you give me all of the clues when it was happening? And then in the moment, I can choose to maybe do something a little bit kind of.
Yeah.
Well, it's your fault when you were violated that I didn't, like, the one
I was
circumstance.
supposed to, scream at the
Yes.
Hollywood Improv?
There's a process. There's a set of rules you're
you
supposed
had
to
to
follow
submit papers.
when you're
Yeah,
getting
yeah.
sexually harassed, and then we can fix it.
But it is that, though, because it's like, unless you're screaming, people, it's like, no, well, then we can't know. We can't actually know if it was weird.
Right.
And it's like, well, it was, and I told you,
Right,
so
I'm
do
telling
something
you
now.
literally
also-
right now.
yeah, and
Truly
also if you
minutes
did-
afterwards.
If you did do it in the moment, they'd be like, it's just, you're making everyone very
Yeah.
uncomfortable.
Yes.
You're being so dramatic.
Oh, you're damned if you do. And also, it is still in those stand-up spaces where it's like, not only is that awful, but you are talking about these experiences and you're talking about those very things. So why wouldn't anyone in the space have a sensitivity to how you might feel or how you might need support? That's crazy.
Yeah.
No, instead, you are a fuck thing, and I must tell you about my penis.
I think there's something to some guys that it's like the empathy thing in their brain is broken. So when they feel like
empathy thing.
I'm
Yeah.
feeling something for
Right,
this
right.
person,
So it
it's
must
a
be
little like,
sexual.
yeah, there's something
Yeah.
sexual. There's a
Yeah,
connection
yeah.
I'm feeling. I'm drawn. It's turning me on. It's like, no, buddy, you're hearing about something emotional and your body is going, we don't really connect
We
a
don't
lot.
know how to process
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
And it's also like,
I do understand
well,
that.
she wants validation and women only want sexual validation.
Right.
So let me give that to her. And what? I'm saying you're beautiful. It's like, oh
Which
my
you're
God.
actually not saying. You're sort of just saying that you're having a problem in your genes right now. That's what you're
Yeah,
saying.
and also they're only saying you're semi-beautiful.
Yeah.
So
Also, like, I don't know if this is weird or
Either
not.
get fully hard or don't tell me about it.
Jesus, come on, buddy.
Bro, the most hard scale. Like, you know what I mean? Like, we got to be hitting a 6.6 for this bitch to be fucking talking to me.
Oh my God.
Like, we all of a sudden predators take us at our word.
Right, yeah.
Well, okay. So this is interesting because I think a theme, the three of us have had a wonderful time supporting each other.
Yeah.
And being friends and then just, whether it be for emotional support or going to hang at different shows, I'm moving through so much energy emotionally in my show every day. And both of you are moving through so much emotionally and physically, Demi. Demi started using roller skates for a little bit.
For a little bit.
Yeah, for a little bit.
And
But
very
he
quickly
also-
was like, no more of this.
yeah, because he also had a razor blade attached to a gag. That
Yeah.
So again, these shows are growing and learning each day. But when we're doing all that, you do need a social outlet or to move or to dance.
Yeah.
And that's also so much to balance. And then to not feel guilty, like, oh, I went out. Oh, I had to get that energy out.
Yeah.
And we've been, you know, touching base and going to a bar, like a central bar together. And I do think one of the themes that we've run into is the three of us will kind of have interactions with people at this festival and then go, hey, am I crazy? Or is everyone crazy?
Yeah.
And that's been very validating to me.
Yeah.
I don't know
It
about
really
you guys.
has. I've been very glad to be able to be like, okay, this thing just happened. And have you guys go like, no, sorry, that's psychotic. I'm like, okay, thank you.
Yes.
Good. Thank you.
No, you do need that because also, like, first of all, I know we're using like gaslighting like too much, but
which is also, I mean, it's such a tool of the patriarchy to be like, it's a little overused, so it could be damaging. Shut the
They're gaslighting us about how often we use gaslighting.
But it's hard when you're there's like one person in a different country and you're like, so am I operating on the crazy scale or are other people sort of being batshit around me? And you do need those check-ins with like people who you look at their life and you go like, okay, I think you've made some decisions that I would agree with.
Yeah.
You know, like there are certain people that I love dearly and I would not go to for advice.
Absolutely.
Because I would say,
Absolutely not.
You have set your life on fire.
Or you go to them for advice knowing that it's like, I know exactly what to pick and choose out of what you're going to say.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And I have so many friends like that where it's like, I love you to death and you talking to me helps me off so many ledges.
Yes.
But I also am like, I'm not taking that part. And,
Right.
That's about you. Oh, that's nice.
Then it's that weird thing where you're like, oh no, if I know which friend to go to for which thing, like what am I looking for? What answer am I looking for?
Yeah.
And there's that. So, you know, I do actually feel like I could come to you guys with a variety of different things. I don't think I'd be enabled. I think when I needed to be validated, I would.
Yeah.
But if I was being cuckoo, I think I could trust you too to be like,
I'm pretty upfront where I say like I do try to see things from all sides and I will ask somebody, do you want me to reflect back what I think is happening or do you want me to validate like what you're sitting in right now?
That is nice. I think even hearing that, I'd be like, ooh, you about to tell me I'm wrong.
well, of course.
No.
Oh, do you want me to reflect back or do you want me to just make you feel good? You're wrong.
Yeah.
Well, or just like, hey, I think your reaction is at a 10 and it could be a 5.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Where it's like what I'm hearing is a lot of other things that doesn't have to do with this situation.
It is helpful to have a friend be like, hey, you are pissed and you have every reason to be.
Right.
It is not all centralized to this one experience. Right. Let's parse through a little bit.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Because then it doesn't feel as big. And you're like, yeah, I do
Right.
have a lot on my plate.
Right. And then it's like, okay, so this person was like wild to me, but isn't evil. Like
That's true. People go evil quick.
That really reminds me of my friend just the other day was like, I think that you have like a process problem in terms of both like relationships and romantic or friendships, like whatever it is, that I'm not super bold in pursuing.
Oh.
I am shy, which doesn't really translate. Like people don't think that I am, but I am.
You are.
And I let people approach me. So my friend was like, I think the people who approach you, especially romantically, are more aggressive. And then those are the people that you typically then are with. These like people who maybe have these more aggressive, like very attractive qualities in that they're able to step up and have the confidence to pursue. But even in a friendship way, it's like, okay, but do I want to be with somebody who sort of pins me as a shy person who can be aggressive, who can walk all over me? Or do I want to exert myself and really go after the friendships or relationships that I want? And like to find the confidence to be somebody who also approaches will set off like a different energy, right? Because it's fine if people approach me, but if that's the only thing I'm calling into my life, I might be calling in more aggressive people who want something specifically from me.
Well, there is that, but I don't know. I think my friendships are very secure and healthy, and they are a good model for me of what is possible romantically. And I'm interested in how you think, because I think like the way like all of our friendships have happened are very organic, and it doesn't even feel like either one of us made huge efforts to either be seen or to try and see the other. And that's where
I also didn't make any effort to hide or to go away. So so I did know that you guys were coming to Fringe, and I did know like, oh, I'm going to hit them up. I'm going to say like, hey, what's up? And I wouldn't. And even that is sort of me pursuing or being like, oh, like what's going on? Do you want to hang out?
Yeah.
I hear you.
Or like you like seeing your show, or, you know, like being like, I want to support these people.
Yeah.
and then we'll see if we're friends.
It's a little easier also when you have a thing that it's very easy to do it around the idea of there are shows that we're doing, there's a thing that we can talk about. It's like going to some sort of hobby group and being like, well, of course I can hang out with this person because we can do this thing around it. But it's also easy when there is not like romance involved, because you do feel like there's no like, they might find this weird or they might become uncomfortable with this. It's just like it's like friendship is not offensive. It's a mutual thing that you're just like, I'm not asking you to see me in any specific way. I'm literally just going, I think you're cool.
Bored with your boring cardio? Stop pedaling that snooze cycle to Nowheresville and try some cardio that's actually fun. Supernatural Fitness, available on MetaQuest. Isn't that right, Jane Fonda?
Cardio will never be boring again.
Sweat to the beat of thousands of chart-topping songs inside stunning virtual landscapes.
Bet your stationary bike can't do that.
Visit GetSupernatural.com and join the next fitness revolution. Supernatural VR Fitness, only on MetaQuest. Rated Teen for Teen.
ABC Wednesday. Tim Allen and Kat Dennings star in the new family comedy Shifting Gears.
Dad, I'm broke and I need a place to stay until I figure out what the rest of my life looks like.
So, a couple of days.
When his daughter moves back in.
The last time you walked out that door, you looked back at me and gave me a double bird.
I was 18. The double bird was how I ended all our conversations.
The wheels come off.
Can we try to talk to each other like rational adults?
Have you watched the news lately? That's not a thing anymore.
Series premiere Wednesday, 8/7 Central on ABC and stream on Hulu.
But I think that's how romantic relationships are successful, right? Because then you're not trying to be anything or hide yourself.
Right.
You know, and it's hard though, because the way it's set up right now is like, it feels hitting quick. Like, you know, it's like you don't have the time to build that knowledge of each other, or so you feel like you have to like say who you are instead of just be who you are. Yeah. And it's difficult to navigate. But I think you're right, Catherine, in like towing the line of like, I need to do a different energy because I want this. And right.
It's like, don't stand in the corner and wait for someone to come up to you. Just like stand near a table. That's what I need to shift.
Middle
don't
distance.
Stand in a corner. Just stand like sort of near a group.
Yeah. I'm starting to try and force myself to just be like, and I've realized this is very easy to do with friends. And I did it the other day and I felt crazy, but like
what do you feel crazy about?
No, in a way where it's like I can be assertive, but I need to like trick myself into doing it. And it's like I need to be able to just go up to people and like say hi. And the other day I did it by jokingly saying that I was like, I got this, Catherine, I'm gonna wingman you. But I was also talking about a person that the person you were liking was talking to as someone that I was attracted to. I was like, I got this, I'm gonna wingman both of us, here we go. And it was part of a bit, but I did go up to them and then start talking. It was like all I had to do was make a joke to you about it, and then here we go.
Because then it's less threatening to you because you're saying, "Oh, I'm doing this for you."
That's so helpful.
I'm actually doing this for you.
It's like in the process of being like, I'm trying to entertain my friend. It's like I will do anything to entertain a friend. So I'm like, well, here we go. Now I'm being direct with a woman just because I'm like, I think this will make Catherine laugh.
Yeah, but I will say that, but it's acting as if, right? It's like bits literally are pretending you are something, and so it's like if you have to bit your way into talking, like hell yes.
It's like I can be my own wingman. I just need you guys there to receive a bit. Me going, hey Mo, watch this. I'm gonna go flirt with that woman.
I'm gonna start being like, hey, do the character where you fucking like just like spit game.
And I will black out and be like, what happened? What happened? It's like, you got 13 people's numbers.
Whoa. That woman's still holding onto your leg. Get out of here.
Why?
Well, Demi, we can't talk about that. We signed NDAs.
Whoa, so much happened.
It is a bit that, though. I do think there is like something to be said for like sort of faking your way into it in a goofy way.
Yes.
Yeah, or like showing off for your friends and like I totally got this.
Yeah. I do feel like a really powerful thing for me is it's like making anyone laugh, whatever, but making my friends laugh in a way where it's like, I'm comfortable with you, so I know that you will understand that what I'm doing is insane.
Yeah,
it's like I can just switch on an insane thing and be like, this is awesome. I'm going to make them laugh. And then I forget. It's like, wait, what are you doing to make them laugh? It's like, flirting with I'm flirting.
It's like that, what is it? Bob Odenkirk was the name of their sketch group.
Mr. Show?
Yeah, they have the one where it's like the guys in the bar fight are like, you can't chicken out. It's like, well, you know, if you like it so much, you should marry it. And then they like escalate to being married. And it's like, I think the three of us love bits so much. We would escalate in a club to like marrying the person that our friend is with.
Hell yeah, I would.
Absolutely. That's the way that's actually the only way I'm getting married.
Because then also it's a good story. And then I get another show out of it.
And that's what this is about, actually.
We live for I will say, every time anything's happened here where I'm like, oh, it's annoying, I'm like, oh, I experienced it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I'm a little excited to dish a little bit because here's what my thing is like Fringe.
We have a story.
I don't have a story for camera.
Okay.
Yeah, you don't have to have a story for camera.
I'll talk about other stuff.
Literally
but not about,
can't wait.
We're going to be really vague because we have respect, but we have run into some dates is what I'll say. And we can speak on that experience as little or as much as we want to.
Well, the thing is, some of them are dates and some of them are, what's going on here?
Oh, can we talk about that?
Or just sort of like an accidental coffee where you're like, I don't know what the expectation is and I'm tired.
Yeah.
But here's my thing. This is why I get, like, it's like I don't have the energy to parse through this. And I think personally for me, I identify them as neurotypical people. They tend to like live in ambiguity and context instead of being like, hey, this is a date. Or this isn't. It'll be like, I don't know. We're just hanging out and being really close together and constantly. It's like
actually can't handle that.
I don't like that.
Actually can't handle that one bit.
And when I feel it, like in this space, when I felt that start to, I'm like, no. I'm calling the cops. I'm calling the cops.
I think there's also something to just being like, if they don't define it, then they get your attention a little more. And it always sucks to say that because it feels like it's like just going like they're just fucking using me. They're just trying to friends with me. It's like no, it's like. You have something special and they enjoy your company. But they also think that if they define either the idea that they have an existing relationship or that they're not interested in you, then it's like they don't get a little bit of that. And it's like, you don't, maybe, but also that's not yours to have.
But no, it's not yours to have. And also like, you should respect me. You should say like, oh, this person is so special and I do want them around and they are sort of giving me whatever like little sparkly piece of magic that they have. But I respect them and their energy and maybe I'm not giving them a sparkly bit of magic. Maybe instead I'm just being a vague piece of shit.
No, you're dead on. You're dead on.
We both should be pouring into each other's cups, especially if we're new friends, and even if we're just friends, we should be pouring. And sometimes your cup gets empty, and then you take more because you have an existing pile of cup friendships. You know. But if you're being like vague and standoffish, you are taking more than you're pouring in
because that other person has to navigate and decode and also like because we're considerate to other feelings, be like. It is funny because it does sound insulty of like, hey, are you into me? If not, I'm out of here. And I'm always scared of that.
Yeah, that's why I'm always like, nope, you're gonna be friends with them.
But even with friends, I've encountered it though where I'm like, do you genuinely want to be my friend? Or do you like sort of like my show and you just want to be close to something that you think you like artistically?
Right. I think that's the difference.
Because that can happen as well, where it doesn't have anything to do with sex. Like,
I think maybe not sex, but maybe like art and like success. Honestly,
there's something of value that they see in you, or that they feel like you provide in a proximity sense.
Right.
And they can be very clear about not wanting anything sexual with you, but not be very clear about really only wanting you in a very
specific way.
Yeah.
Like you don't want to be my friend because you actually don't want to hear about my ex-girlfriend. You just want to hear about my new podcast.
Yeah.
That is so well put. It is that because it's like, hey, I know how friendships feel. And this one doesn't feel good when I talk about all the things.
Yeah, it's like, oh, you're zoning out.
My metaphor for it used to be like, someone is jumping out of a plane, right? And you're kind of like, oh, I'll jump with you. Like, let's get rid of the parachute. And like, no, but the parachute could, be successful or like eventually collaborate with me. Or like, I love their attention and I love the way that you like me. And so then they don't release the parachute and they hold on to it. And then we both crash and burn.
Oh.
And it's like, just release me. Just say like, I can't be this, but I really like you. And honestly, I like the attention you give me because I can tell that you like me romantically.
Yeah. Right.
And it's like, honestly, if you say that, which again is a big ask in this world, but that's beautiful. That opens up a deep, of real friendship, of boundaries, of clear lines.
I think there's also a weird thing of like the middle ground where you are given sort of the idea of like, maybe this can't happen, but maybe it can, in a way that's like keeping you on the rope. And it's like, I actually hate that so much.
It's pretty bad.
And I need to, I've talked to you guys about that happening here in a way that I'm
me
like,
too.
yeah. And it's another thing that makes me feel incel-y, because I'm like,
I know.
It sucks when you just feel like, great, I'm on the same like train of thought now that all these guys who are like, it's not that. It's literally just the idea of like, I don't want a maybe. I want you to be very direct with me.
Well, because
and don't keep me on the
people
hook.
want like a hell yes. Like
Yes.
I'm a human being, and I want you to be like,
I want you to feel excited to talk to me.
Like, I like Catherine. Because if you're sort of on the fence, then I have a lot of people who are on the fence about me. like,
the fence is crumbling. There's a lot of people sitting on the fence.
Yeah, this is like the Paris lock bridge. There are no more locks.
Yes.
We can't do anymore. Too much weight on this bridge. It's bad. It's really bad. No, but I think that's where the three of us kind of coincide in our patterns. So we validate each other, because it is that thing of like, it feels like I'm being taken advantage of. Like, I can't point to why my resources are being drained, but I'm going to show up for you because I like you. And I don't think you're respecting that I've been clear about that, and you're still getting more from me than a normal friend would.
You know what I do like about the fence thing, though, is like, I think I'm someone who sometimes recognizes that someone is sitting on the fence, and like, I do a really bad thing of trying to convince them, but in the process of doing that, I go, wait, I'm actually kind of awesome. I'm like, I'm putting in so much work to convince this person.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't want to do that. And then I sort of get off the fence on I'm like, actually, I don't want this anymore, because I'm realizing that I'm really great, and you're not doing anything. You're sitting on the fence. Humpty Dumpty.
Humpty Dumpty ass bitch. I hope you fall.
Yeah, I hope you break your egg ass face. And then they're like, whoa, you got really mad at me. Really? Now you're sounding like an incel. I say this to them.
And then they're in love with me.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Wait.
But it is, I think that is the like fun part of it, of the lesson, right? Because when you feel like you have to prove yourself to someone for them to want to be there for you in any way, clearly, then it's going, oh, no, I don't. I need to love myself a little bit more right now. Like,
well, and I've also been on the other side. Like, I'll be the bad guy. I've been like the person who who hasn't been like on the fence, but has been like, that's sort of what happened in my last relationship, where it was like, well, I'm focusing on like bringing a show here. I don't have a ton of like bandwidth, or like a relationship just wasn't my number one thing on my list, which I don't think it always needs to be. I think that if you're even when you're in a relationship, you can be really clear and communicate that.
that's a really good point.
But I think that we just ended up wanting different things, and there was a lot of hurt on the other side of being like, I want somebody to be like so into me that they absolutely know that they want to 100% be in a relationship and give me that full energy. And I was like, and I think you do deserve that. I cannot be that person. So we can't be together.
Yeah.
And then it hurts. It hurts to be the person who goes like, I love you. But you're asking for something that I know that if I try, I'm going to be the fence girl. I'm going to be like,
that's beautiful.
sort
Did
of
we break up
giving
with
you
the same
things,
person?
We might have.
Oh.
That's crazy. Were you dating a hot lesbian?
Probably.
I always am.
You know, the bi girls, the lesbians, they're the sexiest of them all. The bi, non-bi, that's what we're all dating, all of us. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know,
Don't I know it?
But I do think what's interesting is like, I think that's such a beautiful, because sometimes I worry that like, am I the bad guy? Do I do the same thing? And like, even here, I think we've had, at least I did, like an organic, like really wonderful date that happened. And it was like so nice. And immediately I was like, oh, I don't have time. I don't have time for this. And I sent a text, and it was and he was on the same page, and it was nice.
It really does suck when you're like, I'm getting pulled around in all these fucking directions by these people who aren't treating me right. And then you have one that goes well, and then you're like, I can't do this. It's like, fuck, this is what you wanted, right? It's like, yeah, but I can't do it now. I can't do it now.
I know. But that my fear then is it's like, It's not. I know it's not, because it just logistically here, time is crazy.
Yeah.
Time is crazy.
But there is that fear that you're like, oh no, God, why is my mental energy so easy to be like, oh, I like this person, it's healthy, and nope, no time. But then I'm ruminating over the butthead.
Yeah, I think there is a little psychology to, and I think this is why so many people date people that they then are like, this person sucked, and it's like there's a little part of you that psychologically was drawn into the suck.
Completely.
There's a little part of you that's always just like the frustration or the sort of confusion or the like they're not clear draws you in and makes you go like, I gotta figure this fucking out, I gotta solve this.
Or if I prove to them that I'm worthy of love, then Dad, sorry, Mom, sorry.
It's like I can change Dad, Mommy.
It's so funny to me when we relate this to our art. So you're talking about people having crushes on your art or like wanting, proximity to you. And even in this pod, right, we're being delicate. We're being, just respect to any of our relationships. But I've had troubles with then wanting to put this into my shit, into my work, and then being like, oh, but am I like, oh, is it just where I'm at right now? Am I like fully formed a point? Is this like, is this respectful to the relationship I had? Can I tell this story? Like that sort of dynamic I think is hard. I don't know, how do you guys navigate that in your work?
I think I'm very lucky that none of, like, aside from one key moment at the end, none of my work is like telling stories or things from my real life. So there's no like, oh, I don't want to put this person or this story into it. But I do think the very idea of like, I'm contorting myself to be a certain person in order to get people closer to me is like the thesis of my show. And the way that I'm like, all right, learn from it now. Now that you've done this 23 times, do you think you'll change? And it's like, we'll see.
Learn from this, grow. I think you change. I think we've had maybe a little bit of a switch in the tide.
It's at least been validating to have a group of people where I can just be like, hey, I know how this feels, and I'm not gonna take 2 days to go, wait a minute, was that bad?
Yeah. I guess I've navigated it in the past, and I don't know how I'll do it in the future. But I talk to the people who are in my show about what I'm talking about. So I've like cleared a lot of it with.
That's nice.
Because that's what feels good to me. First of all, I don't want to throw anyone under the bus. That's also not what I think is funny.
It doesn't feel good.
It's just not my brand of humor. It doesn't sit right with me, so I can't deliver it well. So even when I'm telling the story of when my engagement ended, I say in the show, I have like a bit where I go like, this is my show. So I'm going to tell their version. And then I tell their version of how the engagement ended.
Did you create that, or did they share that with you?
I did that.
Okay.
We are no contact now. So there is a small change in the show that they have not like quote unquote approved, but I don't think that they get that. But other than that, I've been pretty open and cleared things, because it is a personal show, but it's also not just my story, and there are other people in it that I still respect. And if I didn't have any respect for them, I wouldn't clear it with them. I do tell stories about like a couple guys that I would absolutely never talk to again because they did not respect me or my body. So I'm not going to sort of call them up and be like, hey, are you chill with me sharing this?
They were like, sure. It'd be like, wait,
Whoa. So can you put that in writing? Great, please.
Right.
Oh yeah, brother, go for it.
Yeah.
Well, because I feel similarly, where my joke is that like, anyone I've ever loved, I'll always love forever, even if it was just like a passing something.
Yeah, but they get like a part of you. They get like a little part of your heart.
They do. I don't have bad taste.
Well, it's like that thing that someone said something, which I'm now like, I think this might have been a TikTok or a tweet. I'm gonna stop doing that thing of like, I read this thing where, or someone, a poet once said, I'm like, someone put the words
on
online.
Robin Frost.
A small child typed into a box. But there was a thing that was like, every time you do something or remember something or have a little inflection that's something you picked up from someone you dated or a friend or whatever that you don't talk to, you realize that your body is a museum of everyone you've ever loved. Aww. And I'm like, oh God, it is. There are so many people where it's like, there are comedy things that I do that are inspired by people I do not talk to anymore. And I'm just like, every time I do them, I'm like, oh, that's that person, or oh, this is my ex, or this is this. And I'm like, it hurts a little bit to realize that in the moment. But it is this nice thing of like, yeah, even though I don't talk to them anymore, or even they're problematic, or even though they hurt me or whatever, there was love there, and there will always kind of still be a little love
and
there.
they have that too.
Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure they do. Those fuckers.
Yeah, those little pieces. I'm sure they get sunshine from me every day. But I do think that is like maybe the gift of an artistic person. Because it's like, we have so much dialogue around like toxic, cut them off, whatever. And it's like, yes, I do need to give myself boundaries. And like, I could afford to make fun of some people a little bit more.
Like who?
Names. But I do think that like one of my exes from college, he was like a poet. And I think it like prepped me in a big way where he wrote this poem. It was called Wedding Stones. And essentially the idea of it, I don't remember it, was that a wedding stone, W-H-E-T-T, is what you use to sharpen a knife, and like olden days or whatever. And every relationship you have is just a wedding stone for the next. And it's making you sharper and more ready. And like, I just thought that was so beautiful because a knife can free you, but a knife can kill you at the same time. And I think of it similarly to that museum. And I think before I had maybe a measure of shame of like, oh no, am I like taking identity? Like, do I know who I am? Is it like my exes or whatever? Is my art only in reaction to my relationships?
Sure. Yeah.
But it's like, yeah, everything is.
Yeah.
Right. Your whole life is a reaction.
I sometimes get that way where I think about like cliches and how when I'm creating something, I'm like, oh, I'm trying so hard to avoid cliches. I'm subverting whatnot. And it's like, well, then am I no longer creating? Am I just avoiding and making something out of avoiding? And it feels to me like you're a sculptor sculpting out of marble. And it's like, you're not really drawing. You are cutting things away until something new forms. And I'm like, but that also is a way to create. And I think sometimes I'm down on myself because I'm like, oh, you're just avoiding. You're not making anything new. And it's like, but you are making something new. You are learning what you don't like and trudging forward from that. You are having relationships that teach you, like, I don't like being treated this way, or I do like this, and you are becoming a better adult by making an actual, like, figurine. You're becoming Michelangelo's David by going, Michelangelo's David doesn't have a little chunk on the top. Get that out of here.
Michelangelo, Michelangelo's David doesn't have Woody Allen tattooed on his arm.
Yeah, cut that off. Why do we put that in there?
Why put that in? Right about the Chinatown tattoo?
Yeah,
no,
what the
that's
hell?
Roman Polanski.
What did we do?
What is this entire sleeve is bad.
Oh, I love that. But I think that is so beautiful because, again, I think we speak to validation, and friends who understand us can validate that. And you, even, recontextualizing the idea of like making art in reaction to something as that is validating.
Yeah.
And we need it.
Yeah.
We sure do. You gotta have friends that validate your feelings and sort of allow you to understand things, like how you react to things and how to be like, okay, this is a valid reaction. Let's look at it in the context of what's been going on lately or whatever. Because I do also think that sometimes I'm like, when I'm just like, well, it happened again, I'm like, what am I doing? What am I doing
you're
to keep
always
this
in the mix, right? Like things
What
are
part of me?
Things are co-created, and you have to have the balance of knowing like it can't be all them, but it also can't be all you.
No, yeah.
So
No.
and I'm very quick to be like, well, what is my part? And then I see all of my part, and then I apologize, and then it's like, or you could see all of your part and then also realize that they have a huge part too.
Yeah.
It's kind of like that thing where you go in, you're like, hey, I'm sorry for like what went down. And you're waiting for them to be like, me too. And they're like, thank you.
Right. And you're like, oh shit, that felt bad.
Yeah. It's also like sometimes the thing that you do is like, it's partially like my example is, for me, it's very much my problem a lot of times is being bad at boundaries and giving myself over to people, which in turn allows people to sort of go, oh, I'm getting a lot from this person. Let me see how much I can get. And it's like, well, there's the problem.
Right.
I am still doing something, but they are also doing something in reaction to that.
Yes.
And it's like both of us need to change.
Yes.
Yeah.
Completely. Like that is completely the dynamic I try and break but I also, into what we're saying, try and honor it, because I like that I'm willing to give so much, so openly, so forthright right away. And it's the need to have the boundary when you feel that it is not possible for that person to reciprocate or whatever it is without attachment or worry of like, you should, you whatever. It's like, no worries. Like, but I will have more boundaries. I will have more of this involved in it.
Yeah.
Okay, well, since we're all very toast, we can wind down to the segment called, which Jamie knows, called "Thank You for Holding My Poems," and it's one of my favorite segments. And Catherine, it's essentially it's based on a Russian poet whose friends held edits of her poems in their mind, have memorized them during a time under the Great Terror when it was illegal for her to publish. And I think, even with the, after our shows talking about something that went well or whatever, like, we are holding each other's poems. And I think there's been lovely moments throughout this whole Fringe experience that I feel like I've gotten my poems to be held by you too, or I hope you feel I've held your poems.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So if we want to share one each, I think that'd be a nice way to end.
Yeah, I'll happily share. I'm trying to think of it in relation to like literal edits or things that I've taken out of the show where it's a friend was very kind about this. But like the very first time I did this show, January of 2020, I had a bit at the very beginning where it was like, I was like, oh, I should probably do a little stand up too. And I talked about the time that Mark Wahlberg, I don't know if I mentioned this on the pod last time.
I don't know if you mentioned on the pod, but you told me.
I talk about it a lot. I talked about the time that Mark Wahlberg said he could stop 9/11. I did a bit-by-bit analysis of what he said with like the quote up on screen. And I was going, he said this. And I was like, that's insane. And as I was doing it, I was like, you guys aren't reacting to this in any way.
Well, let Catherine know that he literally was supposed to be on the plane.
Yeah, he was supposed to be on the plane the morning of 9/11. I think he overslept or missed his flight or something.
Yeah.
And then like a couple of years later, he's on the radio talking, and he says, and I know the exact quote, he says, if I had been on that plane with my kids, it wouldn't have gone down like it did. There would have been a lot of blood in that first class cabin, and then me saying, don't worry, we're going to land somewhere safely.
And then me saying is incredible.
Yeah.
Okay.
But he's like, if I was on a plane with my kids, it wouldn't have gone down like it did. Would have been a lot of blood in that first class cabin. I'm like, you can't even make up a scenario of you being a survivor.
I'm also
like,
did the terrorists come to you, or you like, you know what I mean? Like, maybe in the
they're
cockpit.
like, where's Mark Wahlberg? Where's the star of 2 Guns?
And Ted.
Yeah, where's Ted?
And yet to be premiered, Ted.
Yeah. And everyone's like, what's that? It's like, well, you'll get to see it because he's going to stop us. So, but that bit died. Like, and it was like, no one is enjoying this. And in the moment, I was like, great, the show is not going to go well. I cut it from the show immediately. I do it. I'm preparing for this Fringe run. I do a couple shows in LA. My friend Andy, who is like the most supportive guy. I love him so much. We went to college together. He's literally an editor, and he's great. And he came to the show again. And afterwards, he was like, dude, I can't believe you cut Mark Wahlberg. I was like, Mark Wahlberg didn't work the first time. You're the only one who remembers it. He's like, I think you got to put it back in. I really liked it. My wife likes it too. And I was like, that's very nice of you. It is absolutely not going back in.
Yeah.
But just someone who's so supportive that it's like, they see the show, they are like, I'll still see it again 5 years later, even though it's like, you've seen all the bits. And he's like, yeah, but I liked this one bit you cut, and I remember it from 5 years ago. I'm like, that rocks. That's always... It's very sweet to have a friend who's like, I've seen the changes to this, and I want you to know I really love it and I really believe in you. But also this thing that I know you didn't believe in, I do believe in. I'm like, I don't think it's going back in, but I love that.
Maybe you're wrong on that.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so sweet. I guess I've had because I've been doing this show for like a year, and
You did Fringe last year.
Yeah, I did like a half-hour, like very different version during Free Fringe in the basement of a burrito shack.
And Free Fringe, for everyone listening, is like it's not free shows. You can like still get money on it, but the whole setup is essentially
like you're not paying for your space. You're it's all like donation based. Like you donate back to the organization, and it's like most of the time they just like give you like. You're in the basement of a burrito store where the employees need to actually cross in front of you in order to get the ingredients for lunch.
Baby reindeer vibes left.
Yeah. But I loved it. I think it was great. I did it 7 days. Like I did a really short. So I've had people come to the first version that I ever did in LA, to Fringe last year, to my other shows in LA, and to Fringe this year. And so they've seen all of the iterations of it. And it's been really, really interesting because I can like see, like they've been able to like honestly be like, I've seen you grow as a performer, and like, I really love this thing that you added in or whatever. But like, I'm a really different person from last year. Like I had
so much growth.
I had like my ex-fiance was in my life. There's like a lot of complicated things about the show that they helped with, you know, and they're no longer like a part of that. But
that's hard.
That's hard, but it's also like they hold some of my poems.
Yeah.
And like for me to be doing the show over and over and over again, there's like a lot of grief, but it's also like I still get to know that like, oh, they hold those things. They can still hold those things. These new friends that I've seen every single iteration of it, like they hold the very first version of me and the show. And that's pretty cool.
I love that.
It's very lovely.
Yeah, I think about how much my show's changed. I joke that I'm like, God, a lot a lot of people I respect came to the first one like a year and a half ago.
Well, I'm like
I do
so
that
embarrassed.
all the time.
No, absolutely. There are people where I'm like, that's actually embarrassing and so cringe, and I hate it so much. But then at the same time, I'm like,
That's how you have to
I
make.
would actually never be here unless I did that first show, had the confidence to invite those people, and then absolutely like feel like it's garbage.
Yes, and
a
be
year
witnessed.
later.
And be witnessed even if you're not perfect, right? Like I even think about all the people from our acting class that came to my first ever one, like brought flowers and stuff, and like, and in my head I'm going like, you guys, that was so good. I promise I'm better. I acted better now. And like,
same.
You wish that a reviewer could be
Literally
like, I'm
same.
going to come on the first day and the last day.
to see your growth.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, really quick, how do you guys feel from day one to day now?
I think there are only a few. Well, there are a few things that have changed for my show from day one, but I also think that like I've been lucky enough that my directors kind of locked in and were like, here's what will work at Fringe. And I was like, I'm also not changing anything based on reviews. It's like, there are some things I'm like, oh, maybe this isn't working or whatever. But I was just like, I don't care. I think the show is sort of built in a way where, I'm like, I realized so there was one day where the fire alarm cut my show in half, and they were like, you can keep going. And I, in that moment, realized I was like, there's nothing I can cut from the show and make it make sense. So I'm not going to keep going. I'm just going to cancel it.
You did that. That was so smart, I thought.
Yeah, I'm glad that I did that. But I do think it's like, I think that the only thing I feel now is I've done this so much that it's muscle memory, and I'm free enough to do stuff during the day, which is nice. But I also, it's like the only part of my show that is loose, which is a part that you actually played once and was so fun. It's my favorite part of the show.
Fun.
But it's so loose, and I realized that like, we've gotten so into that looseness because I'm realizing audiences love when they can tell that it's like something is going off the rails. When it feels like, oh, okay, there's a real structure to this, but then they watch the structure go off the rails. I'm like, oh, you realize that is something that's so fun. And that's great. And it's like the chaos of a show is what makes it great. I saw one of my favorite shows of the year yesterday, and it started 15 minutes late, and he was like, I have tech problems. The audio's not working. This is not a bit. The audio's not working. And then it was so multimedia, but the way that he and his wife played with how the audio wasn't working, I was like, you guys are so fucking funny. I cannot believe that. Like, this show is incredible on its own, and I want to come back and see it, but also I got a once in a lifetime thing because you're gonna fix the audio and people are not gonna get the joke.
Yeah.
Like,
We got to go back tonight, though. I want to see this.
I really want to. Yeah.
It is that, though. I think about the one audience. My tech crashed 3 times in the middle of my show and for one of the performances. And I effing love my tech Kaya. She's incredible. We've been working together after some starts and stops of different people. And the people that saw me having to break a play and then do crowd work and be like, hey, what's up? So has anybody seen the Buffy episode when she goes to the insane asylum? and essentially just have to talk to them and work. And like a friend of mine was there, and like he was just like, oh my gosh, it was so wild to watch, and it was cool because then it was at one of the most sensitive points in my show that is not funny. And so then I had to be like, almost like Mother Goose kindergarten teacher, and be like, hey guys, so this was fun, but did you feel how we were maybe gearing up for something? And they're like, yeah. And it's like, okay, so we're gonna go back there. I'm okay, you're okay. And then like lights down, sob.
Yeah.
But that was the unique experience that all of us got, and nobody else better ever get that.
You do feel like also it's when you get to see a performer really like shine.
Yeah.
It's like watching someone like not capitalize, but sort of like go through something bad and like make the best of it. You go like, I can tell that this person is really good at what they're doing. And even if this is something they're doing so many times, it's like they are such a natural up on that stage that it's like any time that anyone leaves a show in the middle of a show and the performer comments on it, it's like that little thing where you're just like, that's organic. I see the talent. I see the vision. I see the improviser in them. And I feel like there are times, like, I think if my tech crashed during a show and I had to do crowd work, I would flop. I'd be like, people would be like,
I disagree.
Oh, he can't do that.
I disagree. A man tried to punch you and you did crowd work.
But that was different because it was like, I guess I know exactly what to do off of this. But if it was like, hey, the laptop's closed and we don't know where we are, I'd be like, fuck, I can do this for a minute. I can do this for a minute, and then I gotta get a screen back up, or I'll fucking panic. Or I'll be like, you know what? Let's all sing a song. Do you guys know Chapel of Roan? It's like,
they would love that.
well, the old Scottish people would be like, no, I don't know who that is. I'm like,
that was
okay.
good Scottish.
Damn it.
That was really good Scottish. No, I appreciate you bringing up that poem, because I think that is. I think we've also been witnessed by a lot of people in a different version every day.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, no, my show's really changed from beginning to end. Yeah, I think I've changed the ending. Like, not the end story.
Sure,
It's still,
sure.
it happened the way it happened.
You're like, Dad doesn't need to be a part of this.
But I did, but I was like, oh, I think I got feedback that like it wasn't funny enough at the end, which is hilarious if you know the end. But I do think I made it a better show because I think I weaved in more jokes that work if there's more audience. And yesterday I sort of found out, it kind of doesn't work. The audience wants more of an emotional arc some of the time, that they don't want to see me tap dancing through the end.
Beautiful sentence, by the way.
So like, even having that sort of flexibility of picking up on like the energy of the room and be like, I can on the fly cut some of these jokes, because
So you're cutting on the fly.
what they want is more silence or more like of an emotional arc, or, oh, we're all together and you do want some ha-ha-has.
Some hee-hees.
Yeah, some hee-hees.
Well, my computer just yelled at me. My startup disk is almost full, and it feels like
you
college when I was trying to download movies all the time.
Yeah.
So
What do you mean I can't have this large file of We Bought a Zoo?
Kevin James is the zookeeper, and Matt Damon's We Bought a Zoo.
Pick one.
Wow.
Okay, Saved by Elmwood. Okay. I just want to say I love you both very much.
Love you too.
You're perfect in every way.
Okay, great.
I like that.
Yeah, that's good. I got nothing to say. My
Nothing
disc is
to
full
say.
too.
Whoa.
I don't know what that means.
No, I'm just going to agree.
Thank you.
Worse Than You with Mo Fry Pasick is hosted by me, Mo Fry Pasick. You can learn more about this week's guest and the Worse Than You team by checking out the show and episode copy. It's on your phone, the thing you are touching so often. Sanitize it, my God. For more on our journey to the Fringe, head to worsethanYouPlay.com and make sure to follow us on Instagram. I know you're scrolling constantly, and, well, it's the least you could do. Worse Than You with Mo Fry Pasick is produced by Disco Nap and Kinahora Productions. Oh my God, you're so pretty.